This is a really hard episode of Jujutsu Kaisen to talk about, given that it legitimately is one of the greatest TV episodes I think we've seen in anime. People could call me a fanboy all they want, but I don't give a shit. This is legitimately amazing. The unfortunate thing, and why so many are ranting, and myself included today, is that it is so unfortunate to see arguably one of the most passionate team of animators and people working on this wonderful show produce episodes that are literally movie quality, but are dying to do so. And more, now here's the thing, this has always been happening in anime. Animators sleeping under their desks, overtime, barely any pay. But MAPPA's production committee here, and what they've done with Jujutsu Kaisen, we don't even know the future of this show right now. Like, we could have multiple delays, or the episodes we get going forward could look completely horrible. Not because the team's not talented, but because it's just, there's no time. They're finishing so close to deadlines. And even if they end up all looking as great as this episode, how many people are cutting their lives short to make this show? So on one hand, we have to say, to the team behind these episodes, thank you. This is mind-blowing. These are the types of episodes that it's hard to grab screenshots from because it's constantly moving. With anime, it's very easy to grab screenshots because half the time characters are standing still because that's how anime is, right? Like, yeah, there's great animation, but a lot of times it's static. It's one of the lesser moving animation mediums out there. But this episode, they're shifting art and animation direction around all the time, and in static shots, some of it people might take out of context and say, oh, that didn't look good. But you're wrong, it looked amazing. But goddamn, I just feel so bad knowing the absolute hell that's going on behind the scenes with this show. And all I want to say is thank you to the animators producing one of the craziest episodes we've seen this year. One of the craziest episodes I think I've seen, period. This was beautiful, but you guys deserve so much better. I do have a full live reaction to today's episode, though, over on my Patreon. If you do want to see me, my jaw is basically on the floor the entire time. It's over there if you're interested. This was legitimately one of the most fun experiences I've had this year watching a single anime episode. I said it last week that it was legitimately one of the best fights of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I was like, I expect it will get better. But as it stands, I legitimately thought it was that strong. And I'm not taking that back. But I will say this one surpassed it for me. It absolutely did. Right away, it gave me Jujutsu Kaisen 0 vibes, and as someone who recently watched that film for the first time, the production, the way they were directing things, everything about it just felt like it was very similar to that of the movie. And I'm just absolutely blown away by the sheer creativity they went with Sukuna, because it was almost so effortless, but the way they escalated this man constantly. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who feels this way. I think a lot of people know the name Montione, but for those who don't, very, very talented animator who back in the day worked on Ruby and the early stuff, a lot of Red versus Blue fights. He did some crazy, crazy stuff. The thing about a Montione or any animator like that, the reason their fights stick out is even if at face value it may not visually look like the crispest thing ever, the fighting choreography is so talented because people like those love to use environments, objects, not just have characters throw punches, but understanding the ins and outs of martial arts and using things like grabbing onto things to swing or tossing and destroying, using the environment to its full potential. And that's the impression I got from this fight. And it was so incredible to see. Some really cool moments. At one point, he catches a blade with his neck mouth and bites it. I'm like, no, there ain't no way. At one point, he gets thrown through a train, and it reminds me, because I just recently played Marvel's Spider-Man 2. There's a lot of cinematic moments where you just kind of like fly through things. That's kind of what that gave me. Just at every step of the way, I'm like, these are the fights where I'm like, how do you fight that? Sure, this thing's helping us right now, Megumi saved because of him. But imagining Megumi having to fight this, or any of our characters, how do you deal? The only one I think who maybe could right now is Gojo, and he's sealed away. It's a good thing they put him on a time limit, because if they didn't, I think fake imposter Geto would be done. Because if he had no limit, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not saying for sure, I can't say 100%, but what I'm seeing here, he built different. And I love the idea of this man. So after Nanami bodies this fool, he decides to get up for round 2. Props for the encouragement and the determination, but what a dumb mofo. I knew he was gonna die, but I love how he finally had his wake-up call. He's like, listen, I had my life flash before my eyes. I think this time, this man's saying I get to go, I'll do so, and then his head gets... it's just, I'm like, oh, just leaving me speechless here. It's just the music, like when the song kicks in and I'm bobbing and weaving, half the time I'm watching this episode, I'm like trying to pretend like I'm dodging the punches, and it's fantastic. It absolutely is. And you can tell the passion and the talent behind the team who made this. It wasn't just really cool because they were throwing cars and it's like, oh, this punch was really well. No, it's like the fighting choreography was tight. They used environments, objects, and their own individual fighting styles and abilities to their full potential to craft something that doesn't feel comparable to past JJK fights. But most importantly, the color palette. It starts off very gray and dim, and the way they start, at one point, I'm not sure if I'm the only one who felt like some of the like more red and I think almost devilish atmospheres that they had toward, like especially towards the end, gave me like Devilman Crybaby vibes. Like it just, there was so much about this, and it felt like you had one of the best team of animators and artists out there who all had their own style and vision on different parts of this fight, and they somehow meshed perfectly like it was a singular vision, yet it went through so many different emotions for me, and it was just legitimately amazing. Like, it's just, it blows me away that such talent can be manipulated and stretched so thin, and they can produce something this good, and yet they see very little reward. It's a painful industry. I think it's important to recognize that we can enjoy these products, we can say these are amazing, because imagine giving your time and your life and all your effort and no one watches an episode because, you know, the big wigs up above are shitty. Like, no, like people, you know, people want these episodes to be consumed because they put their all into it. The thing is we can also demand better treatment for their workers. I think that's a very fair thing to say, and it's just, I'm blown away by the quality we've seen. I'm not sure if I'm the only one feeling this, but if something happened and we didn't get any more episodes for a bit because of just this production crashing, I could have legitimately ended a season on this episode. I'm not saying it's like the craziest ending in terms of like a normal ending, but surprisingly, having our boy come back too, thinking of every bit of death and destruction Sukuna just did in his body, and him emotionally breaking down that way, is actually a pretty fitting season finale in a lot of ways. But I wish the team nothing but the best, because this was truly 10 out of 10. People can call me a fanboy, they can tell me I'm a mappish, I don't care. I really just don't, man. Like this, to me, YouTube is about talking about the things that I'm passionate about. Unfortunately, sometimes the things I'm passionate about also have baggage attached to them, which is why it's important to mention it, but it doesn't change the fact that the team behind this is absolutely fucking incredible. There's no other way to put it. Like, you gotta put it that bluntly. I don't know where the future of this season of Jujutsu Kaisen will go. All I know is I'm very thankful to have experienced the quality I've seen thus far, and the past couple of weeks, I mean, more than that, but especially last week's episode and this week's, chef's kiss, brilliant, 10 out of 10. Let's see where it goes, but justice for these talented people. They deserve so much better. But this was a incredible episode. Thoughts yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. Like I mentioned, we got that full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Tamara Burt, Riptide, Callum Brailsford, Valerix, Adam Dundorf, and David Story. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.